Testing. Does this work? You know, this is like the one thing that they tell you not to do for a YouTube channel. They're like, don't make a welcome to my channel YouTube video because then people are gonna click off of it after like 5 seconds. And that's okay. I don't really care. What I'm actually here for is just to tell people about my experience doing music. So if you actually care, you can stick around. If you don't, you can leave. I don't really give a shit. Hi, I'm Winnie, but my actual name is Meredith. I kind of came up with Winnie a while ago, and I mean, a lot of people when they first see it, they're like, oh, Winnie the Pooh, and it's like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It's just W-I-N-N-I, which I think actually looks better. It was a name that I just really was attached to because, like, the name itself was something that was appealing to me when I was looking for a possible stage name. I definitely tried to make a stage name work for me and it didn't, so we don't need to talk about that. I started making music when I was really young. You know, a lot of people would just like write little diddlies or, I don't know, little melodies and sing them. I wrote a lot of really stupid ones. Like, I would write things for my stuffed animals and I would have them sing it. And I didn't really start trying to write good original music until I got into like 6th and 7th grade. One of my friends and I would walk in the woods together, preferably during the winter because that's when we would always be at my home. She would come visit and we would walk around in the woods outside of my house and we would take turns coming up with our own song on the spot. Like kind of like a chorus or like a hook, and it had to be completely original. We couldn't have thought of the words before and we just kind of had to go for it. At the time, it's when she wanted to be a country music star, and I wasn't really interested in music actively, I guess, but I kind of got jealous and I was like, dang, she's doing all this really cool stuff and writing her own songs. I want to do that. My sister, she was really into Taylor Swift at the time, and she would write music very similarly to Taylor Swift and then show me the songs and be like, okay, did I write this song or did Taylor write this song? And of course, I was like 10, so I didn't really know a lot of Taylor Swift songs. Like, I knew the popular ones, but I didn't have my own music taste yet, so I didn't know any Taylor Swift songs, really. And I would always guess that it was my sister when it was Taylor Swift, and Taylor Swift when it was my sister's. Like, I really boosted her ego, and it was really funny. And, you know, I watched these people in my life who were, like, interested in the music grow out of it, but I didn't. In like 8th grade, 9th grade, I would write these songs and I would sing them to my friends. We would be waiting for like my parents to come pick me up, and I would sit there and I would look at them and I'd be like, so do you want to hear my new song? And then they'd be like, okay. And then I'd be like, and still you continue, and still you continue to worship my skeleton, and still you continue. I wasn't like emo, I didn't look emo, but I had the sense, you know, like I had the life is meaningless, I'm gonna write poetry and turn it into music about skeletons and about hating yourself, and very Creep by Radiohead. And then in 9th grade, I was a lot happier. I had a really good summer. I had a romance. It was great. And so I started being a little happier, and I wrote a song about summer, and maybe one day, if someone really, really forces me to, I will release that. It was called Summer Vibes. And it was very, very, very 9th grade of me. Like, very 9th grade of me. But she was cute. I wrote it on the piano. I performed it. People really liked it. That was my first time performing my music live. 9th grade. I was 14. And then I started doing it more and more and more and more. And I kept writing and I kept writing. And when COVID hit, I started wanting to kind of make recordings, and the voice memos weren't working for me anymore. So I thought to myself, well, I don't know how GarageBand works, but I know how this one weird photo editing app works. I would put a picture of something, preferably like, I would put like a picture of a crying cat because that was what was popular at the time, and then I would add audio, and I would record my guitar or my ukulele, and I would finish it, and then I would record again, and I would overlay it with my voice. So it was a very, imagine GarageBand, but there's only one option, and it's to record. It was a good way for me to start writing demos. And I didn't really realize that's what I was doing. That's when I started making a lot of harmonies, and that's when my music started to really like actually be good and not just like a concept. I bought a microphone and I started using that, and I started using GarageBand very badly. And I quickly found that there's not much you can do on GarageBand without a MIDI keyboard. So I begged my parents to buy me a MIDI keyboard that my school had provided for me for a semester. And they were very kind and they got that for me. And they also got me an audio interface so I could connect my guitar digitally. It's very expensive having all these things, and I'm really, really lucky to be able to have them and have people who can gift me them. Like, it's an incredible, incredible thing. And I'm very grateful and I'm very privileged for it. I made my first few tracks, which are all on Baggy jeans. That's all like me fiddling around with GarageBand and getting comfortable with it. And as a result, a lot of those songs are very crunchy, I'd say. They're very simple, they're very crunchy, and I look back at them and I love them and I hate them at the same time, because I look at them and I'm like, these are so bad. If I could just tweak anything, I would. And I also want to mention, I think people might listen to that music and be like, wow, she was a silly little 16-year-old. I don't know if it's obvious, I'm not sure if I made it obvious, but all of those songs are like making fun of myself. We're fucked and we're free and we're only 16. I was kind of making fun of the idea that like 16-year-olds are like obsessed with themselves and they're like, love me, want me, I'm amazing. Because I didn't feel that way, but I thought it would be fun to poke fun at people who did feel that way. So that's what a lot of those songs are. And then when I was in my senior year of high school, which was last year, I made my senior project dedicated to marketing myself as a musician and also preparing for a concert, because I kind of wanted to figure out more in depth what it's like to be a small artist marketing yourself to try to gain views. I performed at places I had never performed. I went outside of my school atmosphere to perform live. When you go to a place where people don't have to love your music, they don't have some sort of attachment to you, you're just a face that showed up, and they can decide like, oh, you're bad. And that's just it. They don't have to like you. There's no incentive to like you. That's a lot more scary. And I was very lucky that even though I performed with just my guitar and my voice, people seemed to like it. I released My Pumpkins Won't Rot as kind of an ode to October, pretty much, even though it was released in February. Because the entire idea behind it was pretty much just that, like, even though it's no longer October, I still feel October in my bones. I can always talk more about that one. She has a lot of goodies in her. I really like some of the stuff that I did in My Pumpkins Won't Rot. Specifically, I love Stargazing. That's one of my favorites. I think it's so complex. I really like that song. That's one of my favorites. It's got some nice beat drops, and that's what I love in music. And that's pretty much the most recent thing I've done. I did release a single recently, My Bird, and that was supposed to be part of something that I'm releasing later on, but then I was listening to it and I realized that it's something that should be on its own. But the story behind that song is that I was watching Daisy Jones and the Six, and I got really excited and inspired by Daisy's songwriting process, and so I wrote My Bird as a result of that. And it didn't stay very like 70s inspired for long. I added a lot of stuff to it, but I'm really proud with how it turned out. And yeah, that's everything. That's all of my recent stuff. And I have a ton of things I'm going to be releasing soon. I just kind of have to figure out how I'm going to do it and how I'm going to market it and how I'm going to promote it. Because doing it by yourself is a lot of work. It's really stressful. Things mess up all the time. Like, one of my singles accidentally released like a month early, and I freaked out, and it didn't get taken off until like 2 days later, and so I was like stressed. But I'm just hoping to really like gain traction as the years go on, and I'm not planning on leaving music behind. And it's not really a hobby either. It's not something I'm just doing for funsies. It's something that I really do feel like I'm gonna be working on for the rest of my life. And I want to get a band, and I want to really expand and connect with people and make music with other people, which is so incredibly fun. And I want to teach people how to play my songs. I want to perform them live, and I'm just really excited for my future. I guess I'm just happy. I'm really happy that I have a platform and the ability to make music and actually send it somewhere and get feedback and have people enjoy it. I don't think I'm ever gonna take that for granted. Ever. I don't know why that got so serious. I also don't really talk on the camera. I don't really talk on camera much. So I don't really have a good presence, but that's okay. We're gonna work on it, and I'm gonna try to post music covers. That would be kind of fun. Music covers. You can also let me know like what you want. I'm not a YouTuber, so I don't really know anything about anything. But anyways, yeah, that's pretty much it. And this is just a welcome video. She's just general. You don't need to watch this. Like, it's just me talking about myself for, like, right now it's 20 minutes. I don't know how long it's gonna be there. Take it all with a grain of salt. If you're curious about how to get to where I am, which is not very far, but, you know, it's probably more than just, like, not having music out at all, you can ask me questions. I'll answer them. I'll help you guys, and I kind of want to chart my progress, you know? I think that'd be really fun. So, yeah, I am Winnie. So enjoy my music. Go stream it on Spotify and on iTunes, and also I think it's on Snapchat and Instagram and YouTube Music. You can't get rid of me.